football season start? Besides you? Is Spencer here today? Ron, tell him we were looking for him to be here with his video. Ricky, what about our folks that are calling in?
Mr. Harwell, it's on. I'm looking to see if Dr. Martin is.
Our guests won't mind, we'll go ahead and call our Alabama Medical Cannabis Commission meeting to order today for the August 10th, 2023 meeting. Before we get going any further, I'll ask Mr. Justin A. Day for a word of invocation. Justin?
Right. Thank you for this day. We thank you for this opportunity that we have to serve the citizens of this state. Thank you for this commission, Lord, each commission member that's here. We thank you for their time and talents that they have displayed throughout this process. We pray that you would bless their deliberations today, Lord, and we pray that you would give us all mercy. It's in your name that we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much, Justin. As you can see, I'm not Dr. Stokes. He has resigned over the past 2 weeks, and I'll make another comment or two about him in just a few minutes. Before we move any further, I'll ask our Director, John McMillan, to have the roll call. Dr. McMillan.
Mr. Vaughn.
Here.
Dr. Salisky.
Here.
Dr. Blakemore.
Present.
Mr. Gamble.
Here.
Dr. Martin. Dr. Jensen.
Here.
Ms. Skelton.
Here.
Judge Price.
Here.
Ms. Hatchett. Mr. Harwell.
He's on.
Dr. Saflarsky.
Present.
Mr. Robinson.
Present.
We have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. McMillan. We do have a quorum, so we'll move forward. Before we take up any other business, we need to, I assume all of you got a copy of the minutes from the last meeting. We do need a motion if you're in favor of supporting the minutes as printed.
So moved.
Got a motion from Dr. Blakemore, second from Dr. Jensen. Any other discussion on the minutes? All in favor of approving those minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. One thing I will make mention of, as I said, Dr. Stokes decided he would resign based on our current situation, and I will say Dr. Stokes will be sorely missed. You know, his insight and his intimate involvement with medical cannabis has been instrumental in getting us to this point. His leadership and guidance as our former vice chairman has just been tremendous. I can't say enough about his efforts. He's had a lot of eagerness, and his insight into providing medical cannabis to his patients in Florida has been instrumental in him knowing and understanding the product we're trying to bring to Alabamians. So, Dr. Stokes, we will miss him, but I think his input and his legacy will be with us for a long time. So, Dr. Blakemore, anything you'd like to say in reference to Dr. Stokes?
Yes, sir. I have a statement. We are grateful for the hard work and effort put forth by Dr. Stephen Stokes. He served this commission with character, dignity, and leadership. He served our state to the best of his abilities, and we all have gratitude for his efforts as a commission member and as the first chairman of the Alabama Medical Cannabis Commission. Dr. Stokes is a military veteran, he's an oncologist, and he's a leader in his community. He should be commended for his efforts and not torn into shreds. Without his leadership, we wouldn't be sitting here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Blakemore. I agree with Sam 100%. You know, his insights, as I mentioned, on medical cannabis and his ability to prescribe it to his patients has really given him a lot of insight and has helped us get to this point. And he is still excited about our process. You know, even though he's not here, he did not want to be a distraction to the commission. So, Dr. Stokes, we wish you well, and we will move on to further items. And I'm going to turn over the election of officers to our director, Mr. John McMillan.
Okay, we have today the decision to make on electing a chairman and a vice chairman for the commission. And at this time, I'll open the floor to nominations for chairman.
Director McMillan, I nominate Rex Vaughn as chairman of the Alabama Medical Cannabis Commission.
Okay, is a second to that nomination?
Second.
Motion and second. Are there other nominations? Seeing none, I call for a voice vote. All in favor of electing Rex Vaughn as chairman, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Okay, thanks. Now we'll open the floor for election of vice chairman.
Director McMillan, I nominate Sam Blakemore as vice chairman of the Alabama Medical Cannabis Commission.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Are there other nominations? Hearing none, all in favor of election of Dr. Blakemore as vice chairman of the commission, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Okay, congratulations, Mr. Chairman. Turn it back over to you.
I don't know if congratulations are in order. But anyway, I'm glad I got a partner in Dr. Blakemore, another individual who has tremendous knowledge and a background in where we are with medicinal cannabis. I appreciate Sam and his study and his eagerness to help us get to the point that we are, and hopefully we can move forward. So without any further ado, we will move on to a decision item we need to discuss today, and we will have a vote. The first item to discuss and have a motion and a second after I read the motion. This is the decision item to lift the commission's previously imposed stay that the commission self-imposed. This commission affirmed this stay at our last meeting. The court has lifted its stay so that this meeting could go forward. So now we need to do the same thing as a commission. So do I have a motion from the commission to lift the stay? Got a motion from Judge Price. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Dr. Jensen. Any other discussion on removing the current stay? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye. That James?
Mr. Hall, was that for in favor?
James, were you voting in favor of lifting the stay or opposing? Okay. We'll clear that motion up later. Anyway, motion passes. The next item we need to discuss will be to void the license awards from our June 12th commission meeting. And this will be a decision item to void the license awards from June 12th. As you're aware, following the June 12th meeting, the inconsistencies that were found in tabulation and calculation of scores caused us to put a stay on our processes. We now have received corrected and verified calculations, and in an effort to be certain that the voting on licenses is supported by accurate data, we need to void the previous license awarded and consider that information in rewarding new licenses. Do I have a motion to void the previous licenses awarded?
So.
Got a motion from Dr. Jensen, second from Dr. Saliski. Any other discussion on that item? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye. Motion passes. Have a delayed Zoom call, I think. Anyway, James is on board. Good to have him with us. And is he on a cruise ship, John?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, sorry about none of that.
He's having a little more fun than we are.
Is it very late at night where he
Oh,
is?
is that right? Maybe he might be hungover. Anyway, we'll move on to this last item, and I'm gonna ask, Will Webster to make a comment or two. Before we recess into executive session, we will have to have a vote to do so, but, the last few days, an article I read said that it would be perfectly fine for the commission to discuss publicly our applications and the information contained therein. And it may be okay for the commission. It would not be okay for the applicants. So let's keep that in mind when we're listening to Mr. Will discuss why we go into executive session at this point in the meeting. So Will?
Thank you. For the benefit of the public, I want to talk to you a little bit first about the process that we intend to perform today. What we will do is there will not be deliberations upstairs as we go into executive session. There will be information sharing relating to the applicants and some other things that I'll discuss in just a few moments. But each individual commissioner will be given a form that will be kept secret from the others. And during those discussions of the information upstairs, each commissioner will write down their nominations for each individual category. So, for instance, with dispensaries, there's 4 dispensary licenses we have. Each individual commission member can write down on their ballot and nominate each of 4 different dispensary applicants. That will be done in each category. None of those will be shared upstairs. There will not be voting upstairs. Those votes will be brought down, the nominations will be brought down on those pieces of paper and handed to Ms. Peters. Those of you who are listening and acting on Zoom call today, if you will email or contact Ms. Peters and let her know at that time your vote, nomination at that time, all of those will be collated. Those will be placed category by category on the list to be discussed by the commission. We'll start with the ones that are unanimous, and that should have very little discussion since everyone on the commission agrees. If that's the case, then those can be quickly vetted through, and that will leave us then with the number of licenses that will need to be discussed based on the nominations that have been made. We will only be discussing those who have been nominated by a commissioner. And at that time then we will go through those. There can be the deliberation that needs to happen, but it will happen down here in front of all of you. Now, that said, there are some things that we will be discussing that are of a sensitive nature, and those are things that are covered in the executive sessions portion of the Alabama Open Meetings Act, and I'm talking specifically about 36-25A-7 paren A. So with that said, I will give you my declaration. In executive session, the commission is expected to discuss 3 items. 1, in the context of reviewing the processes and events that have necessitated the voiding and re-award of licenses, there will be a discussion of matters involving the general reputation, character, and professional competence of individuals. This discussion meets the requirements for the executive sessions under section 36-25A-7 paren A paren 1 Code of Alabama, 1975. Number 2, in the context of reviewing information gathered as to particular applications and its own internal processes, the commission will hear comments from individual commissioners and others on information reviewed in preparation for the upcoming votes by the commission. A discussion of matters involving the general reputation, character, and professional competence of individuals.
This subject matter also meets the requirements for executive sessions under Section 36-25A-7, (a), 1, Code of Alabama, 1975. And 3, in the context of the ongoing and imminently likely litigation and its upcoming votes, discussion with their attorneys the legal ramifications of and legal options available and expected based on various courses of action. This discussion meets the requirements for executive sessions under Section 36-25A-7, (a), 3, Code of Alabama, 1975. Thank you.
Thank you, Will. Any commissioners have any questions for Will Webster? Yes, Ms. Skelton?
If I could get a little bit of clarification on the exception that you referenced regarding the ability to discuss the character reputation of individuals. In my reading of the statute, it specifies individuals, but it's my understanding that what we're reviewing are companies and entities here. So can you please give me some clarification how that meets within that definition when it's a company and entity as opposed to the individuals?
Yes, I can. Companies are made up of individuals. Many of the background checks, the criminal histories related to these companies.
Obviously from the individuals that are involved in those. That's not the only thing that those involve, but those things are of character, reputation, and professional competence. The experience and training that each one of the members that we've been provided notice of can be discussed in that meeting. So their professional competence, their ability to handle the obligations of a licensee of medical cannabis in this state absolutely will be matters that can and should be discussed by the commission and should be done upstairs in the privacy so that people's good name, reputation, and competence are not smeared.
Are you recommending that in the executive session that we should vote to approve on the executive session, that we'll be discussing individual names of the applicants that have filed for a license?
Those can be discussed, certainly.
That can be. Will we be discussing those? Well, you're the legal advisor. Will we be discussing, you giving us direction, will we be discussing the names of individuals listed as investors or however they are listed on the application? Will we be discussing names? Not a specific name, but I'm not asking for that. But we will be discussing names so we'll know how to get around this executive session.
Yes, sir, Your Honor, we will. Obviously, I'm not a commission member, so I can't tell you what you will and won't discuss. That will have to be done by the commission members themselves. I wouldn't presume to do that, but all of that is information that will be shared upstairs. Yes, sir.
Well,
and discussed.
Well, to go into executive session, as Michelle said, you have to be discussing the good name of individuals, etc.
That's
So
correct.
are you saying that's what we'll be doing as
Yes, sir. As I just discussed, that is exactly what we
That's all
plan
I
to do.
understand. That's all I understand.
And also the professional competence of those individuals, and to the extent that those combine then to create the entities, that's all part of it. Yes, sir.
Any more questions for Will Webster pertaining to executive session before we have a roll call vote? Now, as Will mentioned, we will not have a deliberation of votes in executive session. That will be done back down here this afternoon.
Need a motion.
So now I do need a motion to move into executive session from the commission.
I move.
Got a motion from Dr. Jensen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Dr. Blakemore with a second. Any other discussion? I'll ask Mr. John McMillan to have a roll call vote. If you vote in favor of executive session, say aye. If you don't, say no.
Mr. Vaughn,
Aye.
Dr. Saliski,
Aye.
Dr. Blakemore,
Aye.
Mr. Gamble,
Aye.
Dr. Martin, Dr. Jensen,
Aye.
Ms. Skelton,
Based on the representations made by legal counsel, aye.
Judge Price, Ms. Hatchett, Mr. Harwell,
Aye.
Dr. Saflarsky,
Aye.
Mr. Robinson. Carries.
Motion carries. Thank you, John. That motion now passed. You good for 1:30 or 2 o'clock, Brittany? 1:30 will be okay. Got a lot of business to take care of in the next couple of hours. But thank you for your vote on that motion. We will now, I guess it's about 10:15 or 10:17, we will adjourn into executive session. We will return about 1:30 back into this same room. And for those joining virtually, there will be a new Zoom link to catch up with us. So it will not be the same one being used right now. We will now be adjourned.